this red bag. This is one of our best bags. It uses shiny American alligator skin.
Girl, unless you've been literally sleeping under a rock, I'm sure you've heard about the whole tariff situation and Trump. If you have been sleeping under a rock, Trump is basically promising to impose tariffs on China and it seems the whole world as well. This tariff situation was quickly seized by Chinese manufacturers who started coming out and saying that they produce the products for our favorite luxury brands and that they're possibly selling them to us for a price that is way lower if we decide to go directly to them. They claimed to produce for some of the world's most luxurious brands, and they said that basically these Western luxury brands have been lying to us and that they're not made in Italy or in France and that they're actually made in China. This has since been debunked by experts, but people on TikTok and influencers ran with it, with influencers now giving supplier names to get different products from, and people actually going and buying these products basically. I was genuinely shook when I saw the amount of people running to DHGate to actually buy some of these products. Damn, y'all really wanted that Lululemon, huh? So I wanted to put to use my marketing degree and answer the question that has been on everyone's mind, and that is, what is luxury? Is luxury worth it? What are these new dupes? Are they worth it too? Can they even compete with luxury? That's what we're breaking down in this video. Hi, I'm Marvin, your favorite marketing student and part-time essayist living in France, and this is Mars Magazine. The concept of luxury is basically as old as time, with people even in ancient times buying things like expensive jewels to distinguish themselves from us peasants, basically. If we jump to today, I think we can all remember the moment we all discovered, Birkin bags, how expensive they were, and how much effort actually went into securing one of them. I mean, the way I was completely gagged when I found out that people were just casually walking around town with bags that could basically be a down payment for a house. And then I was even more gagged when I found out that paying isn't enough and there's a whole process to actually get your hands on one of these bags. This is a system that used to have a wait list to actually be able to get a Birkin bag, but since then it has evolved and it's become a way more complicated and nuanced process. You don't just have a wait list anymore. I mean, this basically means that even if you do have $200,000 just somehow lying around, you can't just jump into Hermes and start asking the sales assistants to hand you over a Birkin. Hermes and the Birkin perfectly capture what luxury is. Luxury brands are defined by Sotheby's as brands that offer products or services associated with rarity, excellence, and high prices. They're basically unnecessary. And, this isn't just me being a hater and saying, these are unnecessary things. This is actually a major component of what luxury items represent. They are not items of everyday use with a functional purpose, but they're items of enjoyment. A luxury good is basically a product that is non-essential to our lives. And this literally drove me mad because obviously without analyzing it, it's so hard to wrap your head around why anyone in their right minds would spend a fortune on a product that is not essential. And by looking into it, I found out that luxury brands use 3 main techniques to get people to buy them. And that is excellence, scarcity, and most importantly, emotional connection. Let's start with excellence. One of the main and first things that drive people to buy luxury products is the craftsmanship and the skill that it takes to make these products. With some luxury wedding dresses taking up to 800 hours to make, this kind of reassures us and makes sure that we know this thing is quality. And not even just quality, this is the highest quality. The people working for luxury brands are extremely talented and they have the skill set to take a product from something just simply being functional to transform it and actually make it art. So basically, this skill and perceived quality that we have over luxury brands could technically be the most rational reason we have to buy them. But like we saw with the definition of what luxury is, essentially it is something that's in the realm of emotions, as these are objects of enjoyment. And one thing about these very skilled workers that work for luxury brands is the fact that they're extremely hard to find. It is hard to find people that are so good at their craft. And this quickly leads us to the next point, which is the first emotional lever that luxury brands manage to pull, and that is scarcity. Imagine buying a dress and knowing that you are the one and only person who owns that dress in the entire country. This is one of the key aspects of haute couture, which basically allows people to only buy one dress per country. So basically, the same dress can only be ordered one time in France, one time in Japan, one time in America. Basically, they can't be two people owning the same dress in the same country. This guarantees that the person wearing it is basically the one and only. This rarity is one of the key aspects of luxury marketing. Rarity drives up desirability because basically our brains have this function where when we see something that is rare, we automatically associate it with something that is good. We basically go, okay, so if this thing is rare, then it must have some kind of worth. Going back to Hermes, we can clearly see how they use this scarcity tactic by making it super hard to get your hands on one of their bags. They also drastically impact the scarcity of their products by limiting the stores and the shops where we can actually go and purchase them. Like, obviously, I'm not gonna go to my local grocery store and just go down the fashion aisle and find a Birkin laying there ready for me to put it into my shopping cart. I have to go to places like Rodeo Drive or the Champs-Élysées in Paris. Also, high prices are another key step in making these products even more exclusive because obviously we think, well, the product is so expensive, not everyone is going to be able to afford it, and so we might end up being one of the few people to actually own this product. Obviously, like I said, you don't just hop into one of these stores and start plopping different products into a shopping cart. They offer you a whole experience. You have a sales assistant that's there to guide you throughout your shopping experience. Sometimes they offer you beverages, They're tailoring this whole experience to feel otherworldly. And obviously, all of this is part of one whole experience. And that's another big thing with luxury. It's experiences. We're experiencing different things when we go into the store and when we get help from the sales assistant. When we get that special beverage, it makes us feel a certain way. And all this experience drives us to, finally go to checkout and swipe our American Express card, for example. Another thing with luxury brands is they will tap into your most deepest desires. And one of those desires is the desire to belong, and most importantly, to belong to something bigger than us. Most luxury brands have been here for decades or even centuries. They have a bunch of history and they basically never shut up about it. When we buy luxury brands, we're basically joining this lineage of history and of people who have come before us to bring something special to the brand. We basically feel like we didn't just fall out of a coconut tree and we're actually buying something that is bigger than us.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
This heritage is a big part of different luxury brands, and it's not something to be taken lightly because it contributes heavily to the brand image. And brand image has to be the strongest point that luxury brands have going for them. Luxury brands don't go around telling you what's better about their products like other brands do. Like, with other brands, it's very common to see, well, buy this phone, it's more durable, it's the latest technology, it's the sleekest design. Luxury brands don't communicate in that way. They sell us an image and a lifestyle that they have carefully crafted to match their target audience's deepest desires and aspirations. Luxury brands usually have two target audiences, with one target audience being high net worth individuals and the other audience being people who have the means to save up and who are willing to save up to buy into this luxury lifestyle that these luxury brands represent and, communicate about. These brands are selling the promise of finally making it. Every part of their ad campaigns, from the models they select, the setting of the commercial, where is it taking place, all the way down to the sound effects and the music, is all carefully chosen to make us dream. And when this target audience that has all these lifestyle dreams finally save up and purchase one of these luxury items, it almost feels like their life is headed in the right direction. It finally feels like they're becoming who they were always supposed to be. For example, with Ralph Lauren, we're purchasing the American dream. We're purchasing that country club aesthetic. We're buying a life that is carefree and full of leisure, where the hardest activity is waking up in the morning, to drive across the golf course, basically. As appealing as this image is, it's starting to finally get some cracks in its facade, with people starting to wonder if this image, if these lifestyle that these luxury brands are selling us are actually worth this huge sum of money, especially when something like dupes exists. Dupes is a word that is short for duplicates, and duplicates are basically defined as cheaper alternatives to the name brand product. This is not the same thing as the other type of products that try to imitate name brands while also stealing their trademarks. Dupes do not steal anything. Dupes will actually look very similar to the products that they're basically imitating, but they'll still be products on their own. They're not stealing any types of logos or any trademarks, basically. One of their main value propositions is them saying that they basically offer the same quality as luxury brands, but for a fraction of the cost. It is actually crazy to see people's perception of dupes change so much across the years. And it completely changed. Previously, any type of product that tried to imitate in any way, shape, or form these brand name products was completely looked down upon by society, and the people purchasing them would be filled with absolute shame. But today, it's like things have completely 360'd, and it's actually seen as a positive thing to be able to find products that are not brand items, but that have the same quality as these brand items for a fraction of the cost. This change of perception has been, kind of influenced by a bunch of different factors, with one of them being the cost-conscious consumer. Today, consumers are really looking for things that are worth their time and money. And with access to things like the internet and, forums, basically like access to Reddit, people are able to really look into different products and actually to, find out if these products are worth them spending a lot of money on, or if there's other cheaper alternative options. Secondly, there's the whole influencer business and their support for dupes, Previously, they might have not talked about purchasing dupes, but now it almost seems like, the more you share the different dupe websites that you have, the more your subscribers are happy. With these influencers basically showing themselves on social media buying these dupes, they're kind of providing social proof to their audience and to basically a bunch of people. And they're sending out a message that basically says, if I have all this money and I choose to buy something that isn't a branded product, but that I still find qualitative, then why would I spend more money on a branded product? Might as well buy a dupe. And so by doing this, they basically played a huge role in normalizing it. There's also the rise of e-commerce that has allowed people to, find something better elsewhere. If you're a store online selling something and people aren't satisfied, they're not going to stick to your store. They're just going to go and type up on Google and find something else that they enjoy or something else that they would want to buy. They're not limited in options anymore. A study that was done by Mintel last year clearly shows how things have drastically changed. It was done in the UK, and basically 47% of people were willing to buy lookalikes to brands. And this is a very drastic change when you compare it to just 12% of people who were willing to buy lookalike items in 2016. Another big thing that impacted our perceptions of dupes is the constant increase of different trends on social media. And by trends, I'm obviously talking about all the different fashion trends, now more than ever, we are in the world and time of aesthetics. One minute, there'll be the country club aesthetic. The next, there'll be the old money one. Then right after that, we'll have the new money aesthetic. Then we'll have the mob wife aesthetic. And it just keeps on going all the time. We have gotten to a point when it comes to trends where it seems like there's a new fashion trend every single day. And this basically means a new lifestyle to imitate every single day. People are still motivated and, still aspire to be part of these lifestyles. And since they don't have fortunes to spend, they have to find a solution that allows them to keep up with the ever-changing trends without basically going bankrupt. Instead of saving up like before to buy just one luxury product that they'd keep for a long time, they prefer to split up their money into smaller purchases that involve buying from different stores to keep up with the different lifestyles that they're constantly trying to keep up with. They're basically telling themselves, with all these trends coming and going, why spend so much money on one product when, there's a next trend that's going to be around the corner just tomorrow? All of these trends have had a very strong impact on the luxury sector. But the other thing that has a huge impact on this sector and, has kind of discouraged people to buy from luxury brands is the fact that they're constantly increasing prices. So basically, if we have all these trends coming around the corner and people feel this need to keep up with all these different trends, and on top of that, luxury brands are increasing their prices, well, obviously they can't keep on purchasing from the luxury brands to imitate this lifestyle, and so they have to look elsewhere. But like the thing is, not all dupes are created equal. When most people decide to go and buy dupes, they usually rush to stores like Shein or Temu. On these sites, it is literally impossible for you to buy something that would have a similar quality to luxury brands' products. And on top of that, the work conditions of the people actually making these clothes are literally scary. And not just scary, they're atrocious and inhumane. But the thing is, recently, we've been having dupe brands that have been changing the image of what dupe brands are supposed to be. These are brands like Italic and Quince. These brands have actively been working to change the stereotypes around dupes by going to direct premium, suppliers and being very transparent about where they get their clothing made. They're selling similar products to these luxury brands without putting on the premium tax that these luxury brands usually put onto their products. And by removing this price increase, they've actually been making a lot of people online happy, with a lot of people actually praising these new type of dupe brands because they have good quality for a price that is, bearable. And these aren't just prices that are bearable, they're prices that are quite transparent, with most of these new dupe sites having very transparent prices where literally I think it's Quince's has on their website a whole price breakdown of why their product is priced that way. And this is a type of transparency that we just don't get from luxury brands. We know that with the EU regulations, they have to respect some type of working conditions and stuff. But the thing is, if we're not being told where they're producing their products, or we just are being told, a vague statement about where they roughly produce their stuff, obviously it's going to be less appealing to users than knowing, the exact factory or, having an exact transparent price breakdown of their products. All of this is just basically making customers more doubtful. This is even more true when you add the fact that brands like Loro Piana, Dior, and Armani have been in recent scandals due to weird and sketchy production facilities. This was a huge blow to their image, especially when you compare it to these new dupe brands who, next to these brands that are getting into these scandals, have an image that even seems in a way kind of better and more ethical in their way that they're producing. But where does DHGate stand in all of this? DHGate is basically a marketplace that allows stores and businesses across the world to get access to suppliers in China. It was founded in 2004, and it has always kind of focused on selling their products to different businesses, basically being the middleman between suppliers and stores, and they haven't necessarily been focused on selling directly to customers. But recently, they've kind of been shifting the way that they've always worked, and they're starting to target more, direct to consumer approaches. So when you look at DHGate, the key thing here to note is that this is a marketplace. It's not a store. This is a marketplace. Basically, you can contact different suppliers on there. And these suppliers could either be, really good suppliers that have decent to good working conditions and good quality products, or it could be, suppliers that have the complete opposite and have horrible working conditions and just products that are trash, basically, and that give nothing. DHGate also has a somewhat tainted image, as it is well known in the industry and by, different authorities as a platform where you can get the other types of dupes that don't respect trademark laws. So unless you're carefully looking into the different suppliers and, even going up to the point of actually visiting the different facilities where these products are being manufactured, you can't 100% be sure about the conditions in which your products were made. And, really looking into these different suppliers is very important, because if you end up buying one of these dupes that doesn't respect the different trademark laws, your package is just gonna be stuck at customs because they're not gonna allow it to enter the country. Also, here when I'm talking about great quality coming from these manufacturers, obviously I'm not talking about great quality in contrast to the higher end, to the upper echelon of luxury brands, you know, because in no way, shape, or form am I comparing this to haute couture, because that's another level of skill and expertise. I know a lot of people in the US were planning on ordering directly from these suppliers to be able to, you know, dodge these tariffs that Trump is trying to impose on China. But it seems like buying directly from these suppliers won't necessarily do much, because basically, there have been talks of removing the law that allowed packages and, you know, different things coming in from China that were under $800 to be exempt from, you know, taxes and extra fees. But with, you know, obviously with them talking about removing this law and removing this exemption, obviously your little cart coming in from the yellow app is also going to have extra charges and extra fees. And so it's just going to be the same thing as, like, you know, the other brands that are coming in from China. Basically, if I had to end off with something, it would be that luxury has lost the original plot. Unfortunately, we live in a world where the new fashion trends change like my mood, literally. And people, especially with the pressure of social media, want to keep up with these new trends that are constantly changing. Whereas before, they'd save up a lot of money to just buy one of these luxury products to fit into the lifestyle that they've always dreamed of being a part of. Now, since they know that the lifestyle is most likely going to change in a minute or two, they'd rather buy something that offers, you know, a similar-ish quality for a fraction of the cost. Luxury brands were originally selling an image and quality. But, you know, when the image is constantly changing and we can find the quality elsewhere, are they still worth it? Especially when the said quality is being questioned and, you know, is being doubted. Luxury brands have dark times ahead of them and they might just end up being left behind. But, you know, I don't necessarily think I care that much, because I'm sure with the billions and billions of dollars that they have greedily saved up, they'll just be fine. What I do care about is our current obsession with the ever-changing trends and feeling the need to constantly keep up. I understand looking for better quality, of course, but the thing is, it'll never be okay to buy 50 t-shirts or like 16 different handbags, because girl, like, be honest with yourself. Do you seriously need those 50 shirts and those 16 handbags? Like, be for real. And most of us really need to do a lot of introspection to see, you know, what is important to us. Is it constantly chasing the next trend? Or is it buying sustainable quality products that last a long time? Like, okay, you're saving a little bit of money by not buying directly from the luxury brands that are overpriced, but since you end up buying more to constantly chase the trends, you're still spending a lot of money and you're still, you know, draining your wallet. Anyways, remember this video is for informational and educational purposes only. Always, always, always make sure to buy from trusted and ethical stores and shops. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next week. Bisous, au revoir.